Let's discuss a topic called as magnetization in materials. Okay. What we have to see is we have covered boundary conditions, magnetic boundary conditions. We have covered magnetic dipole moments. We have defined it. What is a magnetic dipole moment? So let's come to materials now. Where assume that first thing first is like every material will be made up of atoms, and every atom will have a nucleus at the center and electrons moving around it, rotating around it. That's one motion that you see, which is of electrons moving, rotating around an orbit in an around nucleus in an orbit. Okay. And another motion that you see is you see electrons spinning around its own axis. That is another motion that you see. So these two motions, right, actually cause generation of something called as internal magnetic field. Okay, BI. This internal magnetic field can be modeled as that with a current loop and current flowing through a current loop. Okay, and whatever magnetic field is generated by that particular current flowing in the current loop, that same model can be used here of the internal magnetic field, which is generated by this orbiting of electrons and spinning of electrons, both these motions. Okay, so now let's define a term called as magnetization. We already seen what is a dipole moment for this, right? The magnetic dipole moment is equal to the current flowing through the loop multiplied by the area of the loop. Okay, area of the loop, which is pi r square in this case, since it's a circular loop. Okay, and the vector normal to this particular loop. Yeah, so all these three get your magnetic dipole moment. Now if I assume a small volume, okay, with let's say n atoms in it, okay, with n atoms in it, then every atom will have a nucleus and electrons rotating around it and spinning in its own axis, right? Let's assume that the volume is delta V. Okay, so then magnetization term, magnetization M here is given as, in amperes per meter, is the magnetic dipole moment per unit volume. So if you assume n magnetic dipole moments in a unit volume, which is delta V, then summation of all mk's with divided by the delta V, as delta V tends to 0, is your magnetization. Okay, so now what we have to do is we need to find out the relationship between B, H and M. Okay, H and M. So in order to do that, what we do is we start off with like the derivations of with magnetic vector potential. Magnetic vector potential is given as equal to mu 0 m vector cross product with AR divided by 4 pi r square. So same thing, I know that m total m over a volume will be equal to magnetization into delta V, right? So I will replace that m into delta V in the m into dV prime, assuming dV prime is the differential volume. Then m into dV prime will be the summation of all the magnetic dipole moments for that, right? So mu 0 m cross AR dV prime divided by 4 pi r square is your dA. So I know that AR vector divided by r square is equal to r vector divided by r cube, which is del prime of 1 by r. Del prime is nothing but I am just using variables which are x prime, y prime, z prime instead of x, y, z. That's why I have created del prime here. So now A equal to mu 0 by 4 pi magnetization cross product with del prime 1 by r dV prime. Okay, so now I do all this math. Right now it's not of importance because the derivation is not that important. So what I am interested will be in the results. Now the results which I get is, what I get here is, first thing is JB. JB is a bound volume current density. Okay, that bound volume current density is given as cross product of, or curl of magnetization. Okay, del cross M vector is your JB vector. KB vector is the bound surface current density. Okay, bound surface current density is KB, which is magnetization cross product with AN vector. Okay, then comes the del cross H, which you already know. Del cross H through Maxwell's equation, we know it's equal to J. J is a free space current density. Free space current density is when your M equal to 0. Okay, so when what do you mean by the term M equal to 0? We'll just talk about that. So let's assume there is a material and there is no external magnetic field where your B is equal to 0. Okay, no external magnetic field. So this material will have, we have assumed that there are n atoms over a given volume delta V. So now every atom will have its own electrons orbiting and spinning, right? That spinning and orbiting motion causes generation of a magnetic dipole moment, because it can be modeled in terms of a current loop, right? So now this magnetic dipole moments will be pointing randomly in all the directions, and random directions basically. So what exactly happens here is the summation of all these dipole moments comes out to be 0, which results in magnetization being 0 in the absence of any external magnetic field. Okay, so what it means is your Bi, which is generated by this particular dipole moments, is 0. Okay, so when you apply an external magnetic field B, right, to this material, then all these magnetic dipole moments orient themselves in a certain direction, which is in direction of B. Okay, so you get a resultant M afterwards. It's no longer 0 now. The dipole moments of this material will be like in one direction, they will add up and they will have a non-zero magnetization, which is a value non-zero value of M will be there. Okay, so now coming back to this particular point here, we had explained about JB, KB, right? So del cross H is JF. JF is, let's say you applied an external magnetic field which is B, okay, which generates intensity H. Okay, now this H is in free space. In free space, del cross H is your JF. Okay, so in the free space your M is equal to 0. Okay, so now del cross B by mu 0, which is the external magnetic field, will be equal to JF. Okay, in free space. Now the moment you enter a material, because the material now all your magnetic dipole moments have aligned in a certain direction, you get a non-zero M. Del cross B by mu 0 becomes equal to JF plus JB. JB is the bound volume current density. JF is the free volume current density. Okay, free space volume current density. So now I have this JF is given as del cross. Now this particular equation will become del cross B by mu 0 will become equal to del cross M. This is H, and this will become plus del cross M. Del cross M, right? So then B becomes equal to mu 0 into H plus M. Now here we'll define a new term which is relating M to H. H is the external magnetic field intensity and M is the magnetization of the material, right? So M is equal to the magnetization is equal to psi M into H, where psi M is the magnetic susceptibility of the material. It basically tells you how much of the how much the material is susceptible to a magnetic field. This is the external magnetic field, right? So now you have this mu 0 into 1 plus psi m into h, because I replaced it here, so I get this. Now we'll define this new term which is called as the permeability of the material. U is the permeability of the material, and it's measured in Henry per meter. Psi m is a dimensionless quantity. Okay. Mu r is the relative permeability of the material. Mu 0 is the permeability of the free space. So what you should be interested in is the equations which will be like useful. Here are B equal to mu 0 into H plus M. This is the first one. You should be knowing that what are these terms? JB, what is a KB, what is a JF, these terms. And you should also be knowing the relationship between B and H, which is mu 0 into 1 plus psi m into H. Mu is equal to mu r mu 0, mu r mu 0 equal to mu 0 into 1 plus psi m, and then the psi m becomes equal to mu r minus 1. Okay, these things will be needed for your problems. So yeah, I would suggest you guys to go through the classification of magnetic materials based on your susceptibility values. Just go read it to understand it. It's one or two pages of theory where they classify materials based on their properties of where psi m equal to 0 there is called non-magnetic, and mu r is 1 because psi m equal to mu r minus 1, right? So it's basically free space or air. The second one is diamagnetic, which has got a psi m which is negative. Okay, they are like the copper, lead, like superconductors. They basically fall in this diamagnetic, where these guys cannot contain any magnetic field as such. Their internal magnetic field also is 0, almost equal to 0, because they cancel it. They don't have any magnetization of their own. Okay. Now the other one is paramagnetism, which is like based on materials which have got some internal magnetic field. Okay, their magnetic dipole moments don't cancel each other out. They have some magnetic dipole moments. Psi m is of the order of 10 raised to minus 5 to 3. Then comes the ferromagnetism, which are like they have a very psi m which is very much greater than 0, mu r which is very much greater than 1, and they are capable of being magnetized very strongly by a magnetic field, and they retain, even if the magnetic field is taken out, they retain that property. They lose their ferromagnetic properties only when you raise the temperature, when you heat them above some Curie temperature of 770 degrees for iron basically, then they lose their magnetization completely. Here they are non-linear. NH don't equal to mu 0 mu r h does not hold true for ferromagnetic materials. Okay, because your mu r is again dependent on the B also. So you just go through the curve, which is your you just go through this hysteresis curve here, BH curve. So here what they are saying is, in the absence of any let's assume that it's a unmagnetized material and a paramagnetic material, then you apply a small field and you keep on increasing that field. It's not a linear curve that you see, right? Then it saturates at a particular point. That's your maximum H. Okay, now if you take away the H, you decrease the field to 0, the B does not become equal to 0, it just goes to BR. BR is your permanent magnetic flux density. Okay, and then you start making this H negative. The moment it reaches minus HC, which is your coercive field intensity, then your B goes to 0 at this particular point. Then if you keep on decreasing your h, b reaches a certain point which is negative, okay, which is your b max on the other side. Now if you increase the h again, it doesn't go to o, it follows this particular curve. This loop is called as a hysteresis loop, okay, this loop. So just go through the book and you will get your you will be able to understand, okay.